What if I told you? The most legendary duel in history wasn't won by skill alone, but by mindset. In 1612, on a quiet island off the coast of Japan, thousands gathered to witness what they believed would be the greatest sword fight ever. On one side stood Sasaki Kojiro, a name feared across the country, a master of speed, a man whose technique was so precise people claimed he could strike a bird mid-flight. Over 3,000 spectators came to watch him win, because in their minds, the outcome was already decided. Then, his opponent arrived, late, 2 hours late. Miyamoto Musashi stepped onto the shore looking nothing like a warrior. His clothes were unkempt, his hair messy. In his hand, not even a real sword, just a wooden blade carved from a piece of his boat. The crowd was furious. Kojiro was insulted. Everything about this moment screamed disrespect. But Musashi? He said nothing. No anger, no explanation, no rush, just calm. What happened next lasted seconds. Kojiro attacked. Musashi moved once, and before anyone could process what they had just seen, Kojiro was dead. Musashi bowed, turned, and walked away. No celebration, no speech, no ego, just silence. That day wasn't just a victory, it was proof of something deeper. Because Musashi didn't win because he was stronger. He won because he saw the world differently. Over his lifetime, he fought more than 60 duels and never lost. No elite training, no noble background, no master guiding him. What he had instead was a way of thinking, a philosophy so sharp. It shaped every move he made, and before his death, he wrote it down, not as history, but as a guide, a system for how to think, how to act, and how to face anything in front of you. And today, you're going to understand the first part of that system, not as theory, but as something you can actually use. Starting with the principle that changed everything for him. Mushin, the empty mind. Before that duel, while everyone else was tense, nervous, preparing for battle, Musashi did something that made no sense. He slept, on the boat, on the way to the fight. He closed his eyes and went into deep rest. While others imagined outcomes, he removed them completely. When they arrived, his companions had to wake him up. He stretched, calmly carved his wooden sword, and walked toward the fight like it was just another moment. That wasn't arrogance. That wasn't laziness. That was control, because Mushin doesn't mean no mind in the way people think. It means no noise, no fear, no overthinking, no internal voice questioning every move, just presence. Pure awareness. Most people walk into important moments already defeated. Because their mind is loud, they replay mistakes, they imagine failure, they try to predict everything that could go wrong, and while they're doing that, they're slowing themselves down because the truth is simple. The more you think, the slower you act. Modern neuroscience proves this. When you overanalyze, you activate the part of your brain responsible for logic and decision-making. It's powerful, but it's slow, and in high-pressure situations, slow is dangerous. Musashi understood something most people never realize. Your best performance doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from removing everything that's unnecessary. That state, where action feels automatic, where time feels slower, where you're not forcing anything. That's what today we call flow. A state where your mind and body move as one. No hesitation, no doubt, just execution. Athletes experience it, artists experience it, even surgeons in critical moments rely on it, and the pattern is always the same. They stop trying to control everything, and they trust what they've trained. Musashi lived in that state, not sometimes, but intentionally. Before every fight, he cleared his mind. not by forcing calm, but by removing distraction. No past, no future, just what's in front of him. That's it. And here's where it becomes real for you. Because you don't need a sword fight to see this in your life. Every time you sit down to do something important, and your mind starts saying, what if this isn't good enough? What will people think? What if I fail? That's the opposite of mushin. That's your ego, getting in the way. You're no longer doing the task. You're performing for an imaginary audience in your head. And that pressure, it drains your energy, it slows your actions, it kills your focus. The practice is simple, but not easy. Do one thing, fully. No second voice, no judgment while you're doing it, just complete attention. Because when you remove that internal noise, something powerful happens. You become faster, clearer, more effective. Not because you added something, but because you removed what didn't belong. Musashi once said, think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. That doesn't mean you don't matter. It means you stop making everything about you. You stop overanalyzing your every move, and when that happens, your real ability shows up. Not the version limited by fear, but the one that acts without hesitation. That's where mastery begins. But mushin alone wasn't enough. Because even with a clear mind, life still hits you. Things go wrong. Plans collapse. And that's where most people break. Not because they lack skill, but because they fight reality itself. Musashi didn't. And that leads to the second principle, the one that separates people who move forward from those who stay stuck. Most people don't lose because life is hard. They lose because they refuse to accept what's already happened. They argue with reality. They replay it, resist it, fight it in their head over and over again. And while they're doing that, they're not moving. Musashi understood this earlier than most, because at just 16 years old, he experienced something that could have broken him completely. The Battle of Sekigahara, one of the most decisive wars in Japanese history. Musashi fought on the losing side, and when it ended, everything was gone. His side defeated, his future erased, his path destroyed overnight. He survived by hiding among dead bodies for 2 days, waiting for the chance to escape. Think about that. A teenager, surrounded by death, watching everything he believed in collapse. Most people in that situation do one of two things. They either fall into despair, or they become consumed by anger. They spend years replaying the past, wishing things had gone differently. Holding on to what they lost, Musashi did neither. He accepted it, completely. Not as defeat, not as injustice, just as reality. And then, he moved. No dramatic moment, no emotional breakdown, just a simple shift. This is what is. Now, what can I do? That mindset changed everything. Because from that moment on, he stopped wasting energy fighting things he couldn't change, and used that energy to build something new. He became a ronin, a masterless samurai. No home, no protection, no guaranteed future, just movement, training, learning, fighting, evolving. That's the second principle. Accept everything exactly as it is. Not because you're weak, but because it makes you effective. There's a difference between accepting reality and giving up. Most people confuse the two. Acceptance is not surrender, it's clarity. It's seeing the situation without distortion. Because the moment you stop arguing with what already happened, you free up energy to respond. Think about it in your own life. A plan fails, a relationship ends, an opportunity disappears. What's your first reaction? This shouldn't have happened. This isn't fair. Why me? That loop feels natural, but it's also useless because reality doesn't respond to your opinion. It doesn't change because you don't like it. So every second you spend resisting it, is energy you're losing. And that's the real damage. Not the situation itself, but the mental fight against it. There's a concept in philosophy called the dichotomy of control. Simple idea. Some things are in your control, some things aren't. And your power comes from knowing the difference. Musashi lived this. He didn't waste time trying to control outcomes. He focused only on his response. That's it, because when something goes wrong, you always have two options. Option 1, resist it, replay it, complain about it, wish it were different. Option 2, accept it, understand it, act on it. Only one of these moves you forward, the other keeps you stuck. And here's the dangerous part. Resistance feels productive. It feels like you're doing something, thinking, analyzing, processing. But you're not. You're looping. You're draining yourself while nothing changes. Musashi refused to live like that. He didn't deny pain. He didn't pretend everything was fine. He just didn't let pain become his identity. He experienced it and moved through it. That's strength, not ignoring reality, but facing it without adding unnecessary suffering. And that leads to something even deeper. Because once you accept what is, you also have to deal with what you've done. Your mistakes, your failures, your regrets, and this is where most people get trapped again. Because they move forward physically, but mentally, they stay stuck in the past, replaying decisions, wishing they had done things differently, punishing themselves. Musashi had no time for that. In the final days of his life, he wrote a set of principles, short, direct, brutally honest. One of them said, "Do not regret what you have done." Not because he lived perfectly, but because he understood something most people don't. Regret doesn't fix anything, it just keeps you stuck. There's a difference between learning and reliving. Learning is useful, it's clear, you see what went wrong. You adjust, and you move forward. Regret is different. It loops, it keeps dragging you back to a moment that no longer exists. And every time you replay it, you lose your ability to act in the present. Modern psychology calls this rumination, and it's one of the biggest causes of anxiety and mental exhaustion. Not because of the mistake itself, but because of how often you replay it. You're literally training your brain to stay stuck. Musashi's approach was simple. If you made a mistake, understand it fully. Take the lesson, then act immediately. Do something that reflects what you learned. Because action breaks the loop. Movement ends regret. Stillness feeds it. That's why after losing everything at 16, he didn't spend years thinking about what could have been. He trained, he fought, he adapted, he became stronger. Not because life was easy, but because he refused to stay in the past. So ask yourself something honestly. Are you learning from your mistakes or living inside them? Because one builds you, the other destroys you slowly. And if you want to move forward, you can't carry everything with you. Some things you have to let go. Not because they didn't matter, but because you're not going back. And once you understand that, something shifts. You stop wasting energy, you stop overthinking, you start moving, and that's where real progress begins. But there's another trap, one that pulls people off their path without them even realizing it. It's quieter, more subtle, and in today's world, it's everywhere. Comparison, jealousy, looking at others, and feeling like you're behind. And if you don't control that, it will destroy your focus completely. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. Knowing these principles means nothing if you don't live them when it's inconvenient. It's easy to feel inspired by a story. It's easy to agree with discipline, presence, and mastery when you're calm, focused, and motivated. But that's not where your path is decided. Your path is decided when things fall apart, when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you're losing. When no one is watching. That's where this becomes real. Miyamoto Musashi didn't become who he was because he understood principles. He became who he was because he lived them under pressure repeatedly for decades. That's the difference. Most people want clarity before action. Musashi built clarity through action. Most people want confidence before commitment. Musashi created confidence by committing without guarantees. Most people wait for the right moment. Musashi moved regardless of the moment. And that's where the final layer of this philosophy reveals itself. The way is not something you find, it's something you build. People talk about finding their path like it's hidden somewhere, waiting to be discovered. It's not. Your path is built through decisions, small ones, daily ones, repeated ones, every time you choose focus over distraction. Every time you act instead of hesitate. Every time you move forward instead of looking back. You're building it, and every time you avoid, delay, compare, or overthink, you're stepping away from it. There is no neutral. You're either walking your path or drifting away from it. Why most people never get there. Let's be direct. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence. They don't fail because they lack opportunity. They fail because they lack consistency under discomfort. They start strong, then stop. They commit, then hesitate. They know what to do, but don't do it when it matters. And over time, that gap between knowing and doing becomes their identity. Musashi closed that gap completely. There was no separation between what he believed and how he acted. That's why his philosophy works. Not because it's complex, because it's brutally honest. The hidden enemy. Comfort in today's world, your biggest opponent isn't another person. It's comfort. Comfort tells you, wait until you feel ready. Take it easy today. You can start tomorrow. Don't push too hard. And slowly, without realizing it, you start choosing ease over growth. Musashi lived in a world where comfort wasn't an option. Survival demanded sharpness. You live in a world where comfort is everywhere, which means discipline is now your responsibility. No one is forcing you to improve. That's why most people don't. How to actually apply this starting today. Not next week. Not someday. Today. Start simple. Control your mind. Mushin in action. When you sit down to do something, do only that. No phone. No distractions. No second thoughts. Just the work. Accept reality immediately. Something goes wrong. Good. Don't waste time complaining. Ask, what's the next move? Kill regret. Fast, made a mistake. Learn it. Fix it. Move on. No replaying it in your head 100 times. Ignore comparison. Someone is ahead of you? Fine. What are you doing right now? Commit to one direction. Pick something that matters to you. Stick with it long enough to become dangerous at it. Not weeks, not months, years. This is where most people quit. Not because it's impossible, because it's boring. Because real growth isn't dramatic, it's repetition. It's doing the same small things correctly over and over again without immediate reward. Musashi trained daily, fought repeatedly, refined constantly. No shortcuts, no hacks, no quick wins, just work, the identity shift. At some point, if you stay consistent long enough, something changes. You stop trying to be disciplined, and you become someone who doesn't need motivation. You stop forcing focus, and you become someone who naturally avoids distractions. You stop chasing improvement, and improvement becomes your default. That's the shift. That's the real transformation. Not external success, internal alignment. The final question. Forget Musashi for a second. Forget the story. Forget the philosophy. Ask yourself one thing. Are you actually living in a way that moves you forward? Or are you just thinking about it? Because thinking feels productive, but it isn't. Only action changes anything. Musashi's final lesson. At the end of his life, sitting in that cave, writing his final words, he didn't try to impress anyone. He didn't explain. He didn't justify. He wrote what mattered, and left. That's clarity. A life reduced to principles that were actually lived. You don't need 60 duels. You don't need a sword. You don't need a cave. You need decisions, daily ones, real ones. So here's where it comes back to you. Not tomorrow, not when things are perfect, right now. What is one thing you know you should be doing, but you've been avoiding? Do it. No overthinking, no delay. Just start. Because the path isn't something you discover one day. It's something you walk, and every step counts. Stay sharp, stay present, and remember, the way is built one decision at a time.